Welcome to Line Out Drive on 107.1 WPGU. It's Wednesday. It's beautiful outside. Probably the nicest it's been since September.
I kind of grouped the last few days
It's
together.
so nice. But it's a wonderful day, man. It's been a wonderful start to this week. Weather-wise, I don't know about you, Nithin, but I haven't been too busy. I'm really looking forward to the weekend, though. How you doing, man?
Well, I'm in a little bit of a different boat than you. And
dang, I feel really bad bringing my
you
positive energy then.
You shouldn't, though, because it's 100% my fault. I've been working all day on a 220 project that I could have started 2 months ago.
Right.
And I decided to start the day before it was due.
Ooh. Is it the editing product, the scavenger hunt, man?
Yeah.
Gotta tell you.
And, yeah, I mean, no, everyone told me. And, of course, me, the procrastinator, put it off. So I'm like 60% done.
Oh, you'll get it.
It's
due tonight.
It's due tomorrow by 9 a.m. So
such a weird. Do you have class?
Well,
tomorrow?
That's when I have class.
Okay,
yeah.
All right. I was about to say that's such a weird.
No, yeah.
Thing.
So I'm just gonna be working on that. But I mean, other than that, like I'm doing good. It's just that's been my entire day.
Everybody who doesn't know, this is a class that all journalism majors have to take. Taught by the one and only Jean McDonald.
I actually don't have Jean anymore.
You don't have Jean?
Yeah, she doesn't teach the class anymore.
Man, I just threw out some wrong information.
You did. It's okay. It's okay.
Sorry. Man.
That was accurate as of last semester.
Yeah, because that's when I took it was last semester. But this editing project, they give you like 15 different common errors, whether that be spelling, whether that be factual errors, what is it, misplaced modifiers, stuff like that. Stuff that you learn throughout the semester. They give you like 15, I think, and then you have to go find those in actual print journalism, which is very hard because journalists are usually pretty good at not making that many mistakes. So you have to really, really look. I think I probably spent like a combined, probably 15 hours just looking through different publications throughout the United States to see, to find these like 15, errors or whatever. It's a hard project.
Yeah, and it's harder when you put it off.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of reading and it's a lot of just looking for the smallest of errors. But Brendyn actually gave me a pretty good strategy. He's told me about what he used to do last semester, which is, and I've been doing it. You just go on Google Maps, zoom into like just a random town.
I was chilling in Wyoming for a while.
Oh, I've been in Montana a lot.
You'll
lately.
get there. You'll get to.
I did go to Wyoming one time.
Okay, good.
And then just like look at their newspaper because it's a smaller scale newspaper.
Small
It's not
town.
like New York Times or Washington Post where they got a lot of editors. They're more likely to make mistakes, and I have found that so far.
Yeah, and that's the case, man. Also, a tip that was used for me. I know you're super into like sports contracts and stuff. Like looking at different websites to see whether like somebody got like a numbers error wrong on a contract or something like that. I wasn't able to find anything. I don't remember, but I'm sure like there's like some contract that's one website has messed up.
Well, see, for ours, I'm pretty sure you can only use like one mistake, like one type of mistake
per publication.
Well, per like example. So we have to find 10 different examples.
Okay.
And there's like 13 possibilities.
Right. Okay.
So I've already found one related to AP style and
cool.
Another one related to numbers.
Right.
So I don't think I can use that.
Yeah.
But I've been looking for like weird pictures that are out of place because I stumbled one of those and like information that's sourced wrong and things like that.
Tough. It's tough. And I don't know about you, but we weren't able to use like student newspapers.
Yeah, we're not.
So it's like, I mean, those are the newspapers that make the most mistakes. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. But thank you for coming, doing the show, taking an hour out of your day to do that. Appreciate you, Nithin.
Oh no, I gotta come. This is my favorite part of the day.
Oh, me too, man. Me too. But with that being said, we had the sporting event of the year on Monday night.
Yeah.
When Gonzaga and
I thought we were talking about my intramural game.
That's what I was talking about.
Okay.
The Gonzaga.
I cut you off.
Right. The Gonzaga Baylor game kind of just like went into that.
Yeah.
Talk about your intramural game. How was that?
No, okay. I was gonna wait for it. I just had to pull that dumb.
Yeah, that was funny.
Oh no, it was good. We didn't have our best player, but we still won by 29.
Hey, bro. Hoopers hoop. And Nithin is a hooper.
Yeah, we played yesterday too, and also won.
Oh, really? Dang, they had you on 2 games in 2 days?
We got another one tomorrow.
Oh, my God. They got you on the NBA schedule.
It's worse. It's like the NCAA tournament schedule because On Sunday, then we have back-to-back games. So
Really?
if we win
You'll
on
win.
Thursday, yeah.
What'd you win by yesterday?
20.
I'm going to say it here, folks, for everybody in the Champaign-Urbana
what's he got?
Listening community, whoever WPGU reaches to. Hopefully it even reaches into parts of Indiana.
Wow.
Nithin Reddy is a hooper.
Oh.
He is like
thank
that.
You.
He and his team are going to go win this intramural championship.
I'm going to be bragging Monday if we.
I hope so. I hope we get a whole segment, a whole 20 minutes, just telling me about those 2 games on Sunday that you guys just destroyed the other team. My team wasn't able to make it to the playoffs.
You know what?
But Nithin
I was
is
thinking about this though, Brendyn, because you told me we were walking back the other day. You were telling me about the weird semantics of it all. There was a team that made it. Like one of my friends played another team. They were 0-3 and made it.
Man,
and your team was 2-1.
Man, that's tough.
It doesn't make sense.
But I'm happy that at least one of us are still playing in this playoff. And Nithin, I need you to bring it home for the radio station.
Okay, I'll do my best.
Wonderful. Well, I'm glad you won. I'm rooting for you tomorrow and Sunday. Just go kill it, man.
All right. Bet.
But the other game that happened that was just as lopsided, arguably not as entertaining. March Madness finale, the national championship. Gonzaga and Baylor met in Indianapolis, something that we thought was going to happen back in November. COVID issues stopped that game. But, man, I don't know how much of that game you watched, Nithin. I know your interview kind of cut into the beginning of it.
I did catch the second half.
Mm-hmm. I think Baylor scored the first 9 points and did not look back. I've never seen. I mean, I've watched a lot of Gonzaga in this last month, and I mean, nobody all year has seen a team defend them like that, and then on the other end play so much better offense. I just don't really have an answer to how it happened, except for Baylor played on all cylinders from the first tip to it was garbage time. And on Monday, I remember we were talking, and I said something like, "They need to get these guys out of the game," and I kind of meant in like a knock them off their rhythm, get into their head a little bit. But they hit Jalen Suggs with a charge and a reach-in foul really early.
Yeah,
did not play a lot of that first half, and you could tell, man, nobody could defend these Baylor guards. The defense was they were able to deny Timmy in the paint. I think he only shot 7 times all game.
He did.
Something that is not regular for him. Kispert had a really, really tough game, something that he'd been struggling for the past couple games, but it didn't really show that much given the competition, except maybe in the UCLA game. But, man, the big three was not the big three 2 nights ago for Gonzaga.
It wasn't. It was pretty shocking because I wish I did a little more research on this, but I can't remember the last time a national championship game had a loser that shot above 50%, went to the line more than the other team, and had less than 15 turnovers.
Wow.
Because Gonzaga, like, if you look at the raw numbers, it doesn't look that bad. But, I mean, you watch that game. Anytime Davion Mitchell or Jared Butler got a switch, it was over because the bigs on Gonzaga could not defend those guards. I mean, just looking at if you look at the guard play, Maceo Teague, Davion Mitchell, Jared Butler, they all scored in double figures. They combined for, let me do some quick math, 56 points.
Yeah.
That
was really quick.
Yeah. That's a lot of scoring from your backcourt.
Yeah.
And then you also throw in the fact that Gonzaga could not shoot the ball from 3.
At all.
5 for 17. But I think at one point they were like 1 for 8. And they really struggled, especially in that first half, shooting the 3. Completely different story for Baylor. 10 for 23 from 3. Were reining in the shots in the first half. And although they didn't shoot, I'd say, astounding from the field, 44.8%, so 45% from the field, they forced more turnovers. They got more shots, and offensive rebounding was surprisingly a big factor, which you don't expect from a Baylor team that's more guard and wing heavy and doesn't typically play traditional bigs. Like Jonathan Chamachacha, I get his name wrong every time, but he's their real only big, and I think he's only 6'9".
Right.
So it was just surprising all the way
They
around.
have just a lot of guys that are switchable and like long and
Definitely.
like Batal, Damba, like guys that are just really good defenders because of their physique. And that's really what you saw, man. It was just like it was hard to sit down and watch this game and just be like, okay, what am I gonna say about this? Because it was just nothing. It was like Gonzaga looked outclassed the entire game.
They did.
Looked like Gonzaga was out there playing. They were the 1 seed and they were playing a 16 seed again. Like that's really what it looked like. And that's how Baylor was playing. Mm-hmm. Gonzaga really did not have they never had a chance in this game. They were down almost 20 in the first half. We'll cut it to 10 by halftime. Kind of flung around that 10-point range for a little bit in the second half. I mean, when
Did they ever get? I don't think they ever got to single digits.
I think it was 8. I think 8 was the closest. I can look on this game cast from ESPN.
But the overall point is that it never felt like Baylor was going to lose this game
ever,
and that's the most surprising thing because Gonzaga's been so dominant this year. They've beaten so many great teams, and maybe we should have seen this based off of their performance against UCLA, where they just couldn't defend UCLA, and it seemed at the time like UCLA was making tough shots because you were looking at Johnny Juzang making all these tough shots over Jalen Suggs. But we forget about all the open looks like Cody Riley was getting and how he was just setting up for these mid-range jumpers time and time again. And when Juzang was getting double-teamed, he'd dish it. And they're finding guys. And then you add in a Baylor team who's just, frankly, more talented and better than UCLA and has even more guards to throw at you. I guess it is kind of reasonable. It's just we did not see this.
I think that's the thing is that we didn't see it coming. I mean, this is a team that throughout the regular season averaging 96 points a game. And the fact that they didn't crack 71 is very tough. And I'm trying to keep this right. I want to say that this was a fluke performance from Gonzaga, right? I want to say, look, they didn't have Jalen Suggs for most of the first half. They are arguably their best player, right? Definitely their best guard. And they didn't. It was tough because watching that game, you're like, just get it to Timmy.
Yeah. But
it's also Timmy was being denied a lot. He only shot 7 times. He made 5 of those buckets. So you'd love to see them get it in there a little bit more. But it shocks me because this isn't the game that anybody thought it was.
Yeah, and with Timmy, it was different than UCLA, where UCLA would switch screens and then Timmy would have mismatches and be able to attack easily, especially in that overtime period. Mm-hmm. But with this one, I mean, when you have the pressure from Jared Butler, from Davion Mitchell, from those wings, it's hard to make those entry passes. And then if you deny it well enough, it's nearly impossible to throw those passes over the top, it was frankly just a great game plan by Scott Drew. And it seems like this is deserving because they had those struggles late in the season, in the regular season, after their COVID pause. But once they got into the NCAA tournament, they've been lights out since then.
Yeah.
And this was the Baylor we expected to see in their conference tournament and throughout the end of the season. We saw them early in the season. We saw Illinois play a Baylor team like this that was so dominant and so talented defensively. We got it again in this national championship game.
Man, it was crazy. It almost sucks because, on the other side, you saw the Gonzaga UCLA game. Such a phenomenal game, right? But Baylor hadn't played a really close game, arguably all tournament, right? I mean, they beat teams by double digits the entire way. So it was just tough not being able to see a game like that on the flip side. So you had hoped that Gonzaga, who had been so dominant, it would just lead to this championship game where it was this elite defense and a really good offense versus elite offense. And it just didn't, it just didn't formulate the way that we thought it was going to be. And that's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, it is. And I don't want to say it's like a sour end to the college basketball season because there were they're the most upsets ever this year. Granted, for Illinois, that wasn't a good thing. But there are a lot of great things to take away from this tournament. I think it just proves how hard it is in the modern day to go undefeated for a season.
100%.
Because we've seen this time and time again. We saw it with Wichita State. We saw it with Kentucky. these teams make runs in the tournament undefeated, and then you're just bound to lose at one point because you have a game like Kentucky did against Wisconsin where they're all off in every sort of fashion. And you have a game like this where Jalen Suggs gets in foul trouble and then Corey Kispert and Drew Timme aren't having the best games in the world. And how do you respond to that against great competition? It's the reason why there hasn't been an undefeated team since 1976.
Yeah, definitely. Couple questions. Do you think we are an Illinois radio show? So I have to ask this question.
Okay.
Do you think Illinois beats Gonzaga 1-0?
No, I don't. I didn't really think so. Going into the tournament, it's just I had to pick them.
Yeah.
Like you just have to.
You have to. You never really get this chance.
Yeah, and did I think they could beat Baylor though? That's a different story.
I know, and that's a weird thing. It's
Yeah.
like I think that if they got a second run around with Baylor, both teams better than they were at the beginning of the season, I think Illinois had a shot. But I still don't feel they beat Gonzaga.
Yeah, I don't either. Just because they have a lot that counters Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have Kofi Coburn, but Gonzaga's Drew Timme. You have Ayadasumu, but Gonzaga's Jalen Suggs. But Gonzaga also has Joel Ayayi. Gonzaga also has Corey Kispert. Gonzaga also has Andrew Nemhard. Illinois doesn't have all that. They have Andre Curbelo. They have Trent Frazier at times. But they don't have the 5 complete players that Gonzaga can just go to for any time to get a bucket. I mean, it's the same question that we had early in the season where Illinois had 2 guys. Andre Curbelo stepped up. But Trent Frazier, we saw in that Loyola game, they lost in large part because of him. He shot 1 for 10 from the field. And if a game like that happens against Gonzaga, you have no shot. Like, you have to be perfect. And even then, I don't feel super confident.
Definitely. And then looking back at this tournament, obviously we saw a number of upsets throughout the first 3 rounds. But kind of just a weak conclusion, I feel like.
I feel like the conclusion is UCLA Gonzaga, weirdly.
Yeah, exactly. And even then, like, not really the conclusion you really want. Like, if it's going to be UCLA Gonzaga, UCLA fighting all the way from the first 4 to the final 4, kind of want it to be UCLA to win the game.
Yeah.
But give this tournament a letter grade.
I'm going to give it a B-, because a lot of upsets, but there weren't a ton of great games, if you think
That's
about
what
it.
I'm saying, yeah.
Like, there was Oregon State, was it Oregon State Houston was a solid game, but it wasn't a great game. UCLA Gonzaga, that stands out.
That's
That
like
is the
probably
game.
the best game, yeah.
First round, like, I can't really recall any
Creighton
great
UCSB
games.
was a close one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look.
But the thing
more
is,
close
Creighton
games.
wins that game.
Right, exactly. So it's not like anything crazy.
I guess Oral Roberts.
Texas Abilene Christian.
Yeah, that was a good
That was
game.
a good
Oral
one.
Roberts was
Oral
a nice
Roberts,
story.
Ohio State was probably the best one. Rutgers beating Clemson was kind of good.
Yeah, I mean, but it didn't feel like there was
Yeah.
a game, obviously, aside from UCLA Gonzaga. That's why I'm giving it a B-.
Yeah,
Like,
I can see that.
It wasn't the worst tournament, but it wasn't the best.
I'm with you. It was especially, I don't know, it kind of like put up the question like how many upsets is too many upsets, because you know all the teams that really had the huge fan bases, the Ohio States, the Illinois, you know the Virginia, they had their teams get wiped out really really quickly.
Yeah.
So you lose a lot of interest in terms of how far can my team go, especially the best teams in the country. But also all these upsets really mess up brackets. So it's like you lose that interest too. So I kind of felt like maybe this is just me. Maybe I felt I'm alone in this feeling. But halfway through the tournament, I didn't really care about it anymore. In terms of I was ready to watch good basketball, but in terms of
Yeah, I wonder if that's an
investment.
Illinois thing, though, because
be.
I did kind of feel that after the second round loss.
Yeah.
It was just I didn't want to watch basketball after Illinois is gone because I'm just hurting and this is kind of painful. But even aside from that, like, look at the Final Four teams. UCLA is the only one that really had tests. I mean, Baylor, Wisconsin, Villanova. I don't even remember their 16 seed. I
It
think
was
Hartford,
Wisconsin, Villanova,
and then Arkansas. So Villanova didn't have their best player. Wisconsin, very iffy throughout the season. Granted, they beat North Carolina by a lot, but North Carolina wasn't that great this year. Hartford, 16 seed. And then Arkansas, they trailed double digits, I'm pretty sure, every game in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a good sign for a team that was a 3 seed that had a pretty soft schedule throughout this tournament. Then you go down one peg, Houston. They only played double-digit seeds throughout the tournament.
Yeah.
Gonzaga, yes, they were dominant, but, I mean, who did they really play? Like, they didn't.
That's what I'm. Yeah.
They didn't play any.
That's
great
why
teams.
it's weird.
UCLA is the only one. They came up from an 11 seed. They end up beating 1 seed in Michigan, and it felt like their Final Four experience was worthy.
Mm-hmm.
While these other teams, I don't want to say limped in, but they
kind of limped in, man.
I mean, none of them played higher than a 2 seed.
There was not a good, other than the UCLA Michigan game, there was not a great game that put you into the Final Four.
Yeah,
it was USC Gonzaga. USC was just totally outmatched. It was Baylor Arkansas. Arkansas was just not there, and then it was Houston Oregon State, which Oregon State had beaten Loyola, who had beaten Illinois.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you might not say it. I'm gonna say it. I mean, a lot of these teams limped in, and I mean, but in all honesty, like Baylor and Gonzaga deserve to be there.
Yeah.
Houston is a little iffy. You can make some arguments.
I think there's no way they deserve to be in.
Yeah, me neither. But yeah, I mean, that's why it was kind of tough. The absurdity of the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament kind of cut off the greatness that the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight and the Final Four can be, because they gave us teams that didn't really have to prove it all the way to be there. But that's because teams before didn't prove it.
Brendan, what are you going to remember from this tournament?
Cameron Krutwig.
Really? Okay.
No, not really. Well, yes, in the way that it's like I personally 100% underestimated him.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that there was no way he could torch Kofi Cockburn, and that's exactly what he did. But I think what I'll remember most, man, it's a good question. Obviously the upsets, right? I mean, you have Oral Roberts almost going to the Elite Eight. You have Abilene Christian winning a game against Texas, who we thought might have been there late in the tournament. Mm-hmm. But then I really just think what'll always be in my I don't know, the thing I always remember is just kind of like a sour taste, or a sour taste. Illinois I thought Illinois might be there in the end. They weren't. And then the game that we got in the end, the game that we thought we were this massive, amazing game that we've been waiting for, the 1 and 2 all season until the end, until the second to last week. It wasn't a good game at the end, and it kind of sucked.
Yeah, I hope I don't remember this as the failed Illinois tournament. But I think there's a good chance I do.
Probably.
I hope I remember this as the really fun UCLA team. Because this is the most fun UCLA team. And I'm throwing in even the Russell Westbrook and Love team in the mix. Because this team, from the first game they played in the tournament, when they were just trying to get in against Michigan State, they had to go to overtime. And they had their backcourt still dominate in that game, to the Final Four when they were scratching and clawing with Gonzaga, and you could argue we're the better team in that game. I'm just going to remember this as one of those super fun teams. There are those teams that come up every season, and I hope that's how I remember this tournament.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, that's going to lead us to our first break. When we come back, man, what is it, 3 weeks until the NFL draft? Mm-hmm. Teams have been moving. Teams have been talking. Teams have been trading. And we're going to cover that all when we come back on Illini Drive 107.1 WPGU. Welcome back to Illini Drive on 107.1 WPGU. Me and Nithin sit here questioning why CBS Sports is drinking the iced tea when it comes to Mac Jones. But last week,
we're no longer drinking. They're drinking the Kool-Aid. When do you
Jones,
transfer from the iced tea to the Kool-Aid?
I don't feel like Mac Jones is a Kool-Aid drinker.
Okay.
But the New York Jets last week traded Sam Darnold to the Carolina Panthers for, I think, a 6th, a 4th, and a 2nd round pick. So
the 2nd and the 4th are next year, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So they gave away their quarterback, their project quarterback that they've been working with the last 3 years, which pretty much puts them at a perfect spot to pick quarterback Zach Wilson out of BYU. Pretty much a consensus number 2 right now, behind Trevor Lawrence. But yeah, I think this is tough, right? Because I'm very big on a lot of these prospects in the quarterback position for this draft. And I think that arguably like 5 of them could have really, really good careers in the NFL. But man, I do not want to see Zach Wilson go to the New York Jets. I don't want to see any of these quarterbacks go to the New York Jets. And that's because I think the Jets, last time they picked the quarterback, Sam Darnold, the Jets did absolutely nothing to facilitate his growth. They didn't surround him with much people. He had the worst coach in the NFL. And there wasn't a commitment to growth. And I think when you pick a quarterback, especially somebody like Zach Wilson, who's not this number 1 consensus guy, not this guy that is just definitively going to be dominant when he comes into the league, it's kind of tough to sell that to, at least to me, that you're not going to waste Zach Wilson. And I think Zach Wilson's a very talented quarterback. I think that if he's in the right situation, much like a lot of these quarterbacks, he can flourish. But it just scares me because I don't want Zach Wilson to go to the Jets and for them to just mess it up, because I just don't trust their front office.
Yeah, so I'm pulling up their depth chart because I'm interested on who on their roster is a QB right now.
Enlighten me.
Well, it's still loading, but
okay.
I'm pretty sure it's. Oh, they don't even have one. Okay,
right. That's the thing.
So is it Joe Flacco? Like, is that?
Oh, it is. No, I thought he signed somewhere else.
Okay, so I think this is the problem right now, is the fact that they don't have a starter there for at least 1 year.
He signed with the Eagles, Joe Flacco.
Okay, at least what the Bears did, like, people can get mad about it, but Andy Dalton is a bridge quarterback. Everyone knows that. Now you're expecting Zach Wilson to start right away. That's concerning because we saw Sam Darnold start right away, and he was not ready at all. And not a lot of, I mean, I can't remember the last quarterback that really thrived in his first year. Like, it's probably like RG3.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough in that first season to really get over the hump and really feel comfortable playing. Just, it's the hardest position in sports for a reason, because you have to take in so much knowledge and you also have to manage a football team. You're almost an extension of the coaching staff and the player core. So to expect Zach Wilson to do that seems like a lot. And that's why I would like to have seen the Jets maybe trade down, try to get like a Trey Lance, and then sign someone else in free agency, someone that could reasonably do the job, that is not going to win more than 4 games, but is going to be a competent player, similar to like trying to get Ryan Fitzpatrick would have been really nice for them, which would be kind of funny considering he was already a Jet at one point. But it seems like they're going to go with the Zach Wilson route, and normally I'd say that's not a bad pick at all because Zach Wilson's a great talent, and we've seen what he can do at BYU. The concerns are, that they're going to ruin him. And that's why, I feel way more comfortable with the San Francisco 49ers pick at number 3 because they have an established system and they also have established what they're going to do. They've said, Jimmy G's our quarterback this year. Then whoever we take at number 3 is going to be the guy in the future. They've been very transparent about it, and it's a good plan that can work. We've seen it work 2 years ago. Jimmy G, they go to the Super Bowl with him. He didn't play great throughout that season. I mean, his numbers are pretty solid, but if you watch him in the playoffs,
he wasn't transcendent.
Yeah, he wasn't. He was an above-average quarterback, a slightly above-average quarterback. You have the chance to get a franchise quarterback, and you can build off of what is an insanely good defense that if they were healthy, they probably would have made the playoffs. So the Jets, I mean, I don't exactly know what their plans are going forward, but it does seem like Zach Wilson's locked in at this point.
Yeah, I would say so as well. And it's tough. I mean, look, my quarterback prospects, I have Zach Wilson as number 3, but I don't do this for a living, so take it with a grain of salt. But I think that he's some guy that can be really, really good in this
Yeah.
Right. I watched him at BYU. I've seen what he's done since the college season is over, and I think that he can do. He has it. He can do it on the field. Right. But that's going to be so tough to do in a system that has just worked against its quarterback for the last 3 years. And sure, they hired Robert Salah, but like that's a defensive minded coach first and foremost, and that's not going to. I'm not sure that he's going to be able to make this culture changing. I mean, I everything you hear from him when he was in San Francisco, great team or great player coach. Everybody loved him, brought energy, but bringing energy isn't enough to turn a franchise around. I mean, we saw that with Nagy even.
We saw that with Todd Bowles when he was with the Jets.
Exactly.
A great coordinator who everyone raves about and everyone thinks is going to be a great coach when he eventually gets another head coaching job, completely flopped in New York.
Tough. Yeah. And look, that's the thing, and that's why I would have hoped that they would have waited back. I mean, they have 2 picks in this first round. They could have gotten a wide receiver. They could have gotten a really good offensive lineman at the number 2 pick, and they could have worked with Sam Darnold to see if he's that guy. And if not, there's always next year. There's always 2 years to go get another quarterback. But yeah, it just seems very, very, very tough for Zach Wilson.
I actually found the quarterback who's currently listed as number 1 on their depth chart according to ESPN, James Morgan.
Really?
Florida International 4th round pick, I think from a year ago.
Yeah.
That's not a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. And so unless they go sign somebody, which all the free agent quarterbacks who you would be really who have started before and you'd be comfortable with have already been signed, they're going to have to sign somebody to at least be a backup to Zach Wilson if they think Zach Wilson's going to start day one, which, I mean, like you said, I mean, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, all were not day one starters. So it's going to be tough for all these guys or for Zach Wilson.
Honestly, like, I think it helps the Bears, and maybe that's why I'm thinking of this, but go get Nick Foles. Like, at least for a year.
You could trade for him.
If you make the Bears pay that last year of his contract, go get Nick Foles, have him play for a year, let Zach Wilson sit. You're not going to be good next year, even if Zach Wilson is good. Just basically tank, run it back, build up your team, do what the Cleveland Browns did. And
look at them right now.
Yeah. They look pretty good.
They do. Pick number 3. Last time we were talking about this, I always have the CBS drafts order. They had San Francisco picking Justin Fields. Right now they have San Francisco picking Mac Jones. Is this a mistake?
I think so. I'm not a big Mac Jones guy. I think I had him 5th on my board. And Justin Fields, the character issues may be there, but based off of what I saw in college, I don't understand how you can just forget that. Because Mac Jones is he's throwing to Devontae Smith. He's throwing to Jalen Waddle. He's handing the ball to Najee Harris. He has the best offensive line in the country.
Best coaching staff in the country.
Yeah, he did it for 1 year. Justin Fields, for the last 2 seasons, has been, the second best quarterback each of those years.
That outplayed Trevor Lawrence when they met up in the playoff last year.
He did. And yes, he has talent. I'm not going to argue with anyone and say Justin Fields and Ohio State don't have incredible talent from their receiving core and from their running back groups, but it's not even close. And some of the throws that Justin Fields makes
were insane.
Mac Jones can never make.
On a spotlight in the biggest games.
Yeah, it's basically the argument is, what would you rather have? A slightly higher floor, which I think Mac Jones probably does, or a lower ceiling? And it's such a lower ceiling.
It's a very
Mac Jones, because Mac Jones is not even capable of having the arm talent of. This is going to sound crazy, but the arm talent of Tom Brady. Tom Brady doesn't have insane arm talent, but he has good arm talent. Yeah. Mac Jones is never going to have that.
Right.
He's probably looking like a less athletic Alex Smith.
Yeah, this is what CBS says in their analysis of the pick. Could the 49ers be targeting Trey Lance or Justin Fields here? Absolutely. But Mac Jones also fits what Kyle Shanahan looks for in a QB. And while Jones has a higher floor than the other available quarterbacks, he's also just started 17 games, which means he has plenty more room for improvement. That's weird to me. How is only starting 17 games?
Yeah, I don't know how that's a positive.
It's weird. It's he didn't beat out Tua. He didn't beat out Jalen when they were on the roster altogether. And so when he's a 5th-year quarterback and now he gets the starting job because the quarterback room is a lot younger, He started 17 games, so it's a positive. I think that's kind of weird.
Yeah, although I don't love the framing of it because like he was never going to beat Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, of course.
And Tua, like, I don't know if he really had a shot against Tua, but I think the fact that he's only played 17 games, he's only started for one season. Yes, he beat out, was it Bryce Young?
Yeah.
Their new QB. I mean, that's a good sign, but like Justin Fields, we've known for years that he's a Power 5, high-end Power 5 QB. And like there's a reason why people were at the beginning of the season arguing, hey, is Justin Fields approaching Trevor Lawrence's stature? And I feel like that comparison's closer than the Mac Jones Justin Fields comparison.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really weird. It's bugging me a little bit. The CBS mock draft has Justin Fields now going to the Lions at pick 7, which I don't love because I don't think the Lions are great for Justin Fields. But also, if he is good, then we'd have to see him twice a year for the next 10 to 15 years, which doesn't excite me at all. But I also heard speculation, and this may just be people talking on podcasts, but do you think the Patriots would, if the San Francisco 49ers don't pick up Justin Fields, they go with Mac Jones, would the Patriots be willing to move up to one of those spots, maybe to the Falcons, number 4, maybe to the Panthers, or maybe even to try to jump the Lions to get to number 6 Dolphins if they have enough capital to kind of do that way to go get Justin Fields?
I really hope not, because
it'd be wild, wouldn't it be?
That could work. Like that could work really well. And the Patriots, you saw it last year. The quarterback play was just atrocious. It was horrible. Like Cam Newton, we had too high of expectations. I didn't really think he was going to be great because I just saw him the year before in Carolina and thought his arm was falling apart. But Justin Fields in that system, like you're going to give him a lot of easy throws.
Yeah.
And you're going to give him opportunities to just showcase his arm talent. I don't think the Patriots would do that, though, just because knowing the Patriots, they don't love to trade a boatload.
Right.
But if it's like, maybe it's getting to Lions territory. Yeah, I could see that. I could see them moving up 5-6 spots. I have a tough time seeing them move up. It would be, like 10 spots?
Yeah, right now they have the 15th.
Yeah, so it'd be 11 if it's Atlanta.
Right. Definitely. Yeah, I don't see it happening either, as much as fun as that would be, because I think it would shake up that division, which has recently gotten pretty strong with Miami and with Buffalo. And, for the past 15 years, it had been kind of weak. But, yeah, I think that would be fun to see. But also, like, would I want to see Belichick go run it up for the next 10 years because he has, arguably the second best quarterback prospect in this draft? No, but it'd be cool because I like Justin Fields. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. The whole Mac Jones over Justin Fields thing just really confuses me. I understand the floor conversation where Mac Jones has maybe a higher floor than a lot of these guys, but at the end of the day, I mean, you've already said Jimmy G's your quarterback for this year.
I think this happens though a lot, and
it does
with the NFL draft. Like we saw this with Dwayne Haskins,
Daniel
fall Jones.
Yeah,
granted, like neither of them are good at this point.
Right.
I mean, Daniel Jones has exceeded expectations.
Yeah,
which is kind of surprising considering he was the 5th pick. But we see this time and time again. We saw it with Baker Mayfield where he jumps up. Like GMs get nervous about players.
Yeah.
And they see sort of a character flaw. It's similar to Draft Day, the movie, where you just like you see one thing and it's like, that doesn't sit right with me.
Right.
And then you look into it a little more and you're like, that doesn't feel great. But this whole time it's clear that this player is better than this player. And you kind of talk yourself out of it. And sometimes it works for the better. But a lot of these situations end up biting you in the back. Like we saw it with Aaron Rodgers. We've seen it with plenty of quarterbacks that fall. It often doesn't work well for the teams that let them go by.
Yeah, 100%. Well, we're going to take a short break here, but when we come back, we're going to play a little game. Stick with us on the Line Drive 107.1 WPGU. Welcome back to Illini Drive 1071 WPGU. I was Twitter surfing as one does earlier today.
Is there a word for that? Like just one word? Like there's
Dwarf.
Googling, but like, what do you call
It's
it?
not tweeting because that's the action of posting a tweet. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know.
We should come up with it next episode.
I'll think about it. I'll brainstorm. But obviously, former Bears wide receiver Brandon Marshall, Chad Ochocinco, along with some other guys, have their own like sit down talk podcast thing called I Am Athlete. A huge clip kind of blew up from it this weekend in which they were talking about NBA contracts. Brandon Marshall wrongly said that only 4 guys on each NBA roster have guaranteed contracts. The rest are unguaranteed. That's kind of how it works in football, kind of, but not really.
Well,
and it's definitely not how it works.
If anything,
it's
0 in football because no one has a fully guaranteed contract.
Exactly. But the NBA is just not like that. But Brandon Marshall got really, really worked up yelling at Chad Ochocinco about it. This show, I don't know if you've ever watched clips from it. It's pretty like entertaining.
Yeah, I've seen clips on Twitter.
Yeah, same. I've never like sat down and watched the whole episode, but they really get at each other. But they all like each other, so it's fine. But somebody took a screenshot of Brandon Marshall yelling, and it said, "What sports take do you have that you're defending like this?" So I have a couple. I told Nithin to get a couple. But I'm gonna start. So I tweeted about this earlier. So if you guys follow me on Twitter, you'll see it again. But I genuinely believe in the depths of my heart. So let me set this up, right? Derrick Rose just gets traded away, right? Jimmy Butler's on the team. They go and get Dwayne Wade. They go and get Rajon Rondo. It's like this old version of a weird big three, right?
Yeah.
Does not work out the way we hope it is, right? Dwayne Wade plays, I think, 50 games that season, something not that good. There's chemistry issues. Like Jimmy Butler and Dwayne Wade team up, and Rondo takes the backs of a lot of the other players.
I know where this is going.
This is wild.
And I'm going to agree with this take.
However, at the start of the playoffs, the Bulls make the A seed. Everybody's kind of healthy in the playoffs. They get there. They have to face the Boston Celtics, the Isaiah Thomas-led Boston Celtics. This is the year that Isaiah Thomas is in MVP conversations. A lot of stuff is happening. They go to Boston and win 2 games in Boston, the first 2 games, the Bulls do, behind just an incredible defensive performance by Rajon Rondo. However, Rajon Rondo fractures his thumb. The Bulls then lose 4 in a row and are knocked out of the playoffs. I believe, and I'm going to set this up, I believe if Rajon Rondo never fractures his thumb, this Bulls 8th seed makes it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Okay. I liked the start of this because I was going to agree with this.
You can't convince me otherwise. Go try.
That's okay. I'm gonna give my opinion. If you would have stopped and said they would have beat the Boston Celtics,
100%.
I would have agreed with that. I don't know if they make these.
They play the Wizards. They play the Washington Wizards.
Yeah,
next.
I know. Well,
and this is the height of the Wall.
Yeah, this
Beal
is like
era.
a good Wizards team.
I know. I was looking at some stats earlier today because I believe this for 4 years now. I still believe it today. I mean, Beal and Wall were 23 points a game scorers. They still had Marcin Gortat, a very productive big man. But you're telling me playoff Rondo, master on defense, Jimmy Butler, great defender player. And if Dwayne Wade would have turned it up, which he did the next year in the playoffs for the Heat, or 2 years after that in the playoffs for the
I just don't see
Heat.
Dwayne Wade contributing that much.
Okay, sure. Throw Dwayne Wade out. You still have all-star Jimmy Butler, who could play amazing defense on anybody on that team, 1 through 4. And then you throw in Rajon Rondo, and then you throw guys like Taj Gibson and Nikola Mirotic, who I'm not a huge Nico defender, but I think he would have turned up that series. I think that they beat the Wizards, and then they just lose to the Cavs in the Eastern Conference Finals in like 4 games.
Screw it. You've convinced me.
Thank
you.
Yeah, I appreciate
I'll buy it.
I could say if they like had to face like some other powerhouse.
Yeah.
But they had to face the 4th seed then, or the 4th seed. And I think they would have beat them. But nobody can convince me otherwise. They would have made the Eastern Conference Finals. Lost to LeBron.
No, that's a good one. So mine is something I've lived by for the last 6 years. And I'll set this up by saying I have a high school friend who is originally from Houston. So he's a big Rockets fan. James Harden defender for life.
Valid.
We have gotten into so many shouting matches about this.
I love it.
I believe Steph Curry is by far the the better basketball player
by far.
By far, it's not even close than James Harden.
I would say yes, but I don't want to say it's by far.
I think it's like, okay, when I say by far, I don't mean like it's leaps and bounds. I mean like it's clear and
it's definitive
that Steph Curry is better.
Let me marinate with that a little bit. Okay, so it's tough, right? Because
I got my whole spiel ready, so I'll
go
let
ahead.
you.
No, go ahead.
I'll let you like marinate on this and think about like your opinion of it because I want to hear what you got to say first.
I think that Stephen Curry is a better basketball player.
Okay.
I think that somehow, weirdly, in the last 3 years, ever since KD joined the Warriors, Steph Curry has been underrated.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see what he's doing now. I mean, he put up 41 last night and was key into that comeback win against
Milwaukee.
Granted, without Giannis Antetokounmpo. But I mean, he's been anytime that the Warriors have a good game, he scores almost 40. He's an underrated passer. He's a crazy finisher at the rim. He doesn't get enough credit for. He has moments on defense where he's good. But I also think James Harden defensively is a little underrated. I think he's impossible to score on in the post for a lot of guys. I think, especially early in his career, he kind of got some shade on him because he was his effort wasn't there. That's a huge thing on defense. But the last 3 years, I still think James Harden was a little bit better than Steph Curry. But Steph Curry's been dealing with injury problems. Career-wise, and in a vacuum, I think Steph Curry's a better player.
Okay, so this is my argument for Steph Curry.
Go ahead.
Steph Curry is the ultimate chameleon when it comes to basketball players.
100%.
You want him to be your number one guy. You see it. 2015, it works out.
Yeah.
He has a terrible game against the Cavs, and I think it was game 2 or game 3 where Matthew Dellavedova shuts down. He comes back, and he's the best player in the series after that. Steph Curry's also able to be a number 2 guy. We saw it with Kevin Durant. When he was there, Steph Curry deferred. He knew that Kevin Durant needed to be the guy, and that's how they were going to win titles.
Mm-hmm.
And they did as a result, and they were so dominant throughout. Then Kevin Durant gets injured, and Steph's like, hey, I need to put the team on my back. I'm going to score 47 points against the Toronto Raptors when I have Kevon Looney and Andre Iguodala as my only other offensive threats.
Yeah.
Steph Curry can do so many more things than James Harden. James Harden is excellent at carrying teams. That's what he's done throughout his career. He's made 2 Eastern Conference Finals, and he's lost both of them. One of them, it wasn't even close. The Warriors completely dominated.
Yeah.
The other one, he had a 3-2 lead, and then people...
That's the tough one.
People point to Chris Paul getting hurt. Yes, but I always point back to how Andre Iguodala missed, I think, the entire series.
Yeah.
And how I feel like that is close. Maybe not the same as Chris Paul getting
Defensively is definitely similar.
Yeah, well,
offensively, what Chris Paul does, I think it's a little different.
Well,
but I think
the fact that Iguodala missed 7 games.
I agree. What, 2?
Chris Paul's 2. And then I just throw in the teammate element. We saw it this past season. James Harden decides he doesn't want to play. He just decides he's going to leave, and his whole team is just crippled. And he's really tearing them apart. Steph Curry has never done anything like that. Steph Curry is the guy that goes up to Kent Bazemore and is like, you're going to work as hard as me. You got to stay in the gym every night like I do. He's the guy that he is this version of Tim Duncan, this modern day version of Tim Duncan.
Man.
And I think this thing that we get caught up in with James Harden is that he makes a lot of flashy moves and he puts a lot of insane stat lines up. But when it comes to the playoffs, you got to be able to work as a cohesive unit. You can't win by just one guy carrying.
And that's what he tries to do. That's what the system he's been put in. Mm-hmm. I think this year will be a little different, though. I think he's in a system where he doesn't have to be number 1. Do you have another one?
Not really. And we're also running out of time.
Yeah, I know. I'm not gonna justify this one. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Okay. But I love Steph Curry. You made me love him a little bit more. So thank you for that. I think that Derrick Rose's MVP season is better than Russell Westbrook's MVP season.
I 100% agree with this.
And I also think that Derrick Rose, had he not been injured, a lot of things happen. Mm-hmm. Steph Curry isn't as good as he is right now. And I think that
I've gone back and forth on that because I'm not exactly sure.
Derrick Rose then becomes how we look at Steph Curry already before the end of his career, a top 3 point guard in the history of the game. And I think Derrick Rose is there if he never gets injured. But that's just me.
I actually just remembered the one I thought of, and it was that Russell Westbrook and Kyrie Irving can never win a title as the number 1 guy.
I agree.
Yeah. I
agree
don't
with
I don't
that.
know if it's a super like hot take or anything.
I think Kyrie Irving is a more hot take than Russell Westbrook because I feel like we've seen Russell Westbrook and it's like proven.
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving still has a few years to kind of get that, but I also think he'll never be able to do it.
Yeah.
Man, hot take Wednesday. Maybe we should bring that. I think that should be our thing. Hot take Wednesday.
Okay.
I'm down for that, man. Thank you for joining the show. Tomorrow it'll be Gabby and Josh in the studio talking about whatever they want to talk about. It's Josh's show now. But yeah, we'll be back Monday to recap everything that happened over the weekend. But thanks for joining us on 107.1 WPGU.